I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. On the Senate floor Wednesday, Senator Bob Casey reacted to the mass shooting at a Texas elementary school that left 19 kids and 2 adults dead. Casey also cited that less than 2 weeks ago, 10 people were killed in a racially motivated shooting in Buffalo. The senator said that DC's response to mass shootings suggests, quote, "We're supposed to just get used to this." He slammed Republican senators for refusing to support a background check bill, which he believes should be bipartisan. Listen in as the Pennsylvania Democrat decries gun violence, which he describes as, quote, "a uniquely American problem."
And I rise to speak about yesterday's horrific tragedy in Texas, and I won't be long. I know we have votes coming up, but I wanted to start by expressing, I think, both the grief and the outrage that we see all across the country that yet again, not just another tragedy, in this case, the death of 19 children and 2 adults, at least that's the latest reporting, but also indicating that the deaths took place because an armed gunman came into a school with body armor protecting him from the response from any law enforcement. So we've had another example in barely less than a week where a gunman goes into a setting in a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, and now into a school where second graders, third graders, and fourth graders are killed because he has a high-powered weapon and he's fully protected from any law enforcement or any other response. And we're supposed to just get used to this, I guess. That seems to be the response here in Washington. Now, this isn't a problem of Congress more broadly or the executive branch of our government. This is a problem, the failure to address this problem, even to pass something as simple as background check legislation. This is a problem in the Senate of one side. You've got 50 United States senators who are Republicans, who have refused now for years to pass anything remotely resembling common sense gun measures. I would support a whole series of bills that we could talk about. We don't have time today. But at least the United States Senate should be able to pass a background check bill supported by 90% of the American people. And you have to ask, why is that? And it's not simply that you have so many Republicans that are beholden to the gun lobby. That's obvious. That's right in front of us. The other problem is, and I think it's related to the question of the power of the gun lobby in one party, is you've got a whole party that seems to want to surrender to this problem, to throw up our hands and say there's nothing the most powerful nation in the world can do, nothing at all that the most powerful nation in the world can do to stop the killing over and over again of Americans, and especially in the context of the horror, the unspeakable horror yesterday of second, third, and fourth graders being gunned down in a manner that is so horrific that some of them can't be identified because of the power of the weapon and the number of bullets that can be discharged in a matter of seconds. So even if law enforcement gets there and isn't confronting body armor, no law enforcement is fast enough to get to a scene in seconds to prevent a horrific mass shooting. So we're supposed to accept the fact as Americans, I guess this is what the Republican position is, that we should surrender this problem. The most powerful nation in the world can't stop second, third, and fourth graders from being murdered in schools. The most powerful country in the world, I guess, can't prevent the shooting we saw in Buffalo. And you could go down the list of other tragedies. This is a uniquely American problem. No other country that is similarly situated has an economy like ours, has a country even close to what we have. No other country has this problem. And any kind of change or reform or action is being blocked by one side. And I know there's work that has to be done at the state legislative level and all that. But right here, We could vote this week on a background check bill, and it would be supported overwhelmingly. But think about, and I'll end with this, but think about this. If we had the same attitude about 9/11, what if someone said right after 9/11, you know what, there's really nothing we can do as Americans to stop a foreign terrorist from taking an airplane into a building or crashing an airplane into the Pentagon or the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, that there's nothing we can do about that. So we just have to get used to that reality of terrorists doing that to our country. No one would say that, then or now. We create an entire new agency, the Department of Homeland Security. And guess what? A lot of those reforms that we made to protect Americans against terrorism worked. Just like no one said years ago, we have these viruses and the potential for pandemics, but we shouldn't do anything about it, even though we have the knowledge and the skill to create a vaccine. We invested. We did what Americans do, confronted a big problem and did something about it. What if in World War II, what if everyone stood up and said, you know, the Axis powers are pretty powerful. Those nations are pretty powerful. They have the most well-funded, sophisticated armies in the world, and there's nothing we can do in 1941 to take on the Axis powers. We didn't say that. It is un-American to surrender to a problem. Now you have an entire political party in this chamber that has not just surrendered to the lobby, that's objectionable and insulting enough, but they've surrendered to the problem, that there's nothing we can do about it. That, I would submit, is un-American. And it's about time that the Republicans in the Senate begin to be part of the solution to do something that Americans do all the time. Confronting evil, like we did after 9/11. Confronting terrorism or disease or whatever it is. In this case, to confront gun violence. And do something about it. Not sit around and pretend that there's nothing we can do. That is un-American. We don't surrender. We're Americans. We take on tough problems, like our entire history has shown. But we haven't taken on this problem. What we should be saying to these families, in addition to offering our sympathy, is your government has failed you. Your government at the federal level and your government at the state level. It's failed you. And in this case, in this chamber, it's failed because one side will not even entertain the idea of passing any gun measures. They've surrendered. Mr. President, I would yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Will the Senator withdraw the...
I will.